Someone must tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no fucking thing as karma, okay?
Imagine two of the biggest voices in American television, Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg, going head-to-head on the biggest issues dividing the country today. Maher, the no-nonsense political commentator who calls out hypocrisy wherever he sees it. Whoopi, the outspoken host of The View, bringing a raw, unfiltered take on everything from race to politics. But this isn't just a TV debate, it's a reflection of a much deeper conflict. The battle for the soul of America. A battle between free speech and censorship, personal responsibility and systemic oppression, liberalism and wokeism. So how did this conversation explode into a national debate? What does it reveal about the future of America? And most importantly, where do you stand? Let's break it down.
Is unfortunate because cancel culture is real, it's insane, and it's growing exponentially, and it's coming to a neighborhood near you. If you think it's just for celebrities, no.
Bill Maher has never been one to hold back. Whether it's religion, politics, or culture, he's built a reputation for saying exactly what's on his mind, no matter who it offends. Over the years, he's taken shots at both the left and the right, refusing to fall neatly into any political category. But when Maher turned his attention to what he calls the woke left, the conversation took an even sharper turn. His bold critiques didn't just ruffle a few feathers, they ignited a firestorm of debate across the media and social platforms, proving once again that Maher isn't afraid to take on even the most controversial topics. Maher argues that today's liberal movement isn't really about progress anymore. It's about control. It's about dictating what people can say, what they can think, and even what they should apologize for, often under the guise of social justice. In his view, the movement has shifted from fighting for equality to enforcing a rigid ideological narrative. But not everyone agrees with him, and that's where Whoopi Goldberg steps in, ready to push back with her own perspective, setting the stage for a heated and unfiltered exchange. For Whoopi, this isn't about censorship, it's about accountability. She argues that words have power, and that people like Maher need to recognize the impact of what they say, especially in a time when misinformation and harmful rhetoric can spread like wildfire. But here's where it gets even more complicated. Who gets to decide where the line is? Who determines the difference between free speech and dangerous speech? And at what point does holding someone accountable turn into silencing opposing viewpoints? And that's the million-dollar question. This isn't just about Bill Maher or Whoopi Goldberg, this is about America. About how divided we've become, about how every conversation, whether it's about race, gender, or politics, turns into an all-out war. Think about it, if you're conservative, you probably feel like Hollywood and the media are constantly pushing a leftist agenda. If you're progressive, you probably feel like free speech has been used as an excuse to justify hate. And if you're somewhere in the middle, well, good luck finding a place where you're not attacked from both sides. Turn on the news, scroll through social media, go to a family dinner, it's all the same story. And what's worse, the more we argue, the less we actually listen. So what does this mean for the future? Bill Maher believes the solution's simple. Let people speak. Even if you don't like what they're saying, debate them. Challenge them, but don't silence them. In his view, open discussions, even the uncomfortable ones, are the backbone of a free society. The moment we start shutting people down instead of proving them wrong, we risk losing the very principles that allow progress to happen in the first place. But Whoopi and many others argue that free speech shouldn't come at the expense of progress. That letting people say whatever they want has real-world consequences. Hate speech leads to real violence. Racist rhetoric fuels discrimination. Misogyny normalizes abuse. And in an era where misinformation spreads like wildfire, unchecked speech can do serious harm. But where do we draw the line? At what point does policing speech go from protection to oppression? And who gets to decide what's unacceptable and what's just an unpopular opinion? This is where things get complicated. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that freedom of speech has never been absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You can't threaten someone's life and call it just an opinion. And you definitely can't spread misinformation that leads to real-world harm. Laws and social norms have always placed limits on speech to protect public safety. But what about unpopular opinions? What about people who simply challenge the mainstream narrative or question authority? Should they be silenced too? And if so, who gets to decide which opinions are dangerous and which are just uncomfortable truths? The line between regulation and censorship has never been more blurred, and that's exactly what makes this debate so intense. Think about Dave Chappelle, J.K. Rowling, even Joe Rogan. Whether you agree with them or not, their words sparked outrage, calls for boycotts, even threats. But did they deserve to be silenced? Or was the backlash just part of the free speech game? And this isn't just about celebrities. Regular people are feeling the heat too. A teacher loses their job over a tweet that was taken out of context. A college student gets expelled for a social media post they made years ago as a teenager. Even comedians, whose very job is to push boundaries and challenge societal norms, are now second-guessing every joke, wondering, what can we joke about anymore? And more importantly, who gets to decide what's offensive and what's just humor? The stakes have never been higher, and the fear of saying the wrong thing is spreading fast. Whoopi argues that this doesn't cancel culture, it's a consequence of culture. That if you say something offensive, you should be prepared for the backlash. But Maher says that's exactly the problem, that we're creating a world where people are too afraid to speak, where one wrong word can ruin your entire life. So where do we go from here? This debate isn't just about two celebrities arguing on TV, it's about America itself. It's about what kind of society we want to be and how we define freedom in an era where every word can be dissected, recorded, and weaponized. Right now, we're at a crossroads. One path leads to more control, more censorship, and more restrictions on what can and can't be said, all in the name of protecting people. The other path, more chaos, more division, and a world where anything goes, no matter the consequences. So the real question is, where do we draw the line, and who gets to decide? We're already seeing it happen, books being banned in schools, social media companies deciding what's allowed and what's not, people losing their jobs over opinions. Some say it's necessary, others say it's the death of free expression. But here's the real kicker, neither side is completely innocent. Because let's be honest, both the left and the right are guilty of shutting down voices they don't agree with. The left cancels conservatives for being problematic. The right cancels progressives for being too woke. And in the end, we're left with a country where nobody wants to listen, but everyone wants to be heard. So what's the solution? Maybe the answer isn't censorship or canceling culture. Maybe the answer is conversation, real conversation. Not Twitter fights filled with outrage, not cancel campaigns designed to destroy reputations, not screaming matches on live TV where no one actually listens, but actual honest debate where people with different opinions can challenge each other, learn from one another, and maybe, just maybe, find some common ground. Because if we can't even talk to each other, how can we ever hope to move forward? Because believe it or not, even Maher and Whoopi have some common ground. They both want a better, fairer, freer America. They just disagree on how to get there. And maybe that's the lesson in all of this, that we don't have to agree on everything to respect each other. That the solution isn't silencing voices, it's learning how to listen. Now this is where you come in. This debate isn't just happening on TV, it's happening everywhere. At work, online, in your own home. So what do you think? Is free speech under attack, or is accountability finally winning? Should we fight to cancel culture, or do we need it to keep society in check? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's keep this conversation going. But remember, real debate isn't about shouting each other down, it's about understanding. Like, share, and subscribe if you want more deep dives into the biggest issues shaping our world today. Let's cut through the noise and get to the truth together. See you next time.